Indian consumer, because of the pandemic, has got used to 30 minutes for food and grocery
Mhm.
and 1 day for any other product. So what is the pressure that is putting on logistics now?
Exactly the same way, like you expect a book to be delivered by Amazon in the next day or the same day. Similarly, if you are, let's say, a dealer of FMCG dealer or an iron and steel dealer,
Mm,
you
mm,
expect. I mean, obviously, you cannot in the current situation, you cannot make it, or in there is a physical distance, let's say, which has to be covered between
correct.
Bombay and Guwahati, which you
Yeah.
cannot expect to be covered in 1 day. But that visibility is very important. So
Mm,
getting the goods delivered is one thing, but the information about where the goods are at every stage, that
mm.
become very, very critical.
Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. If you are new to our channel, please consider subscribing to it and hit the bell icon so that you never miss an update. I am your host Ashutosh Garg, and today I have a young entrepreneur from Kolkata, India, Varun Biani. Varun, welcome to the show.
Thank you, sir. Good morning.
Morning. Varun is the co-founder of Super Procure. He's also the co-founder and CTO of Truck Hall. So, Varun, let's talk about Super Procure. Tell me about this venture.
So, sir, I come from a family with deep background in logistics, and problems in this industry is something which I grew up with. I was doing fine with a consulting job in New York, and that's when the bug of entrepreneurship caught me. That hey, this is getting mundane.
Mm,
Going, taking a bag out and coming back every week. So let's go try my hands in business,
mhm,
and these are the problems which I could relate to. So the journey started in 2015. We started with an aggregator model in the transportation sector. We even got into full truckload transportation, played the role of the broker, and soon we realized that yes, we don't want to compete with the already existing ecosystem of
mhm,
businesses out there who are trying to service the logistics industry. And how can we be an enabler in this industry and obviously bring technology into the day-to-day lives of this industry, which
sure.
is on which the entire economy is dependent on, and yet people in this industry are not so used to technology. They're leading a very difficult life on a day-to-day basis. When talking about, let's say,
Mm,
people who are in the transportation business, till the people who are driving trucks, right? How can
mm,
the learnings from playing these different roles in the industry is what gave birth to Super Procure. Uh, Super Procure is a logistics management platform for logistics teams across,
mm,
and for manufacturing, for teams which are working in the manufacturing, construction,
mm,
infrastructure.
mm.
Them automate their day-to-day activities, brings in transparency, captures all the granular data so that the power of analytics and business intelligence can be leveraged.
Mhm.
So yeah, so we
Very nice.
to
And
empower logistics teams across different sectors.
terrific. And what are some of the logistics and freight sourcing challenges that are being faced by businesses today?
So this has been a very, I mean, the industry is very traditional, right? So it's heavily fragmented. So more than, at least, let's say, if I could say from government statistics, there are about 7 million goods vehicles registered in India.
Mhm.
The the maximum ownership, 90 to 95% of the ownership of vehicles rests with people having less than 5 or 10 vehicles. These are people who are drivers who
Mm,
grew in their driver business, and they started owning vehicles and started a small fleet ownership company of their own. So imagine a truck which is going from, let's say, Bombay to Assam.
mm,
The truck owner is sitting somewhere in Uttar Pradesh, but yet the truck needs a backload. So there are so many intermediaries out there,
mm,
local players, that a manufacturing company, let's say like a Tata Steel, would have to depend on, right?
mm,
So what we do is we make sure that, and again, these activities are very manual driven. I mean, just to give a very basic example, the distance between Bombay and Guwahati is not changing on a daily basis, right?
mm.
Changing at all. But the prices of trucks or freights changes on a day-to-day basis because it's heavily dependent on demand and supply.
Correct.
So what we try to do is we try to kill down all these manual activities which happen over an email or a telephone, and
Mm,
make this bring it down on a single transactional window
mm,
and make it very transparent. So another very big problem with this industry is it's the moment you tell somebody that I'm from logistics industry, they just think that it's a very dark thing, right? I keep telling this on a lot of forums also. That I had told my father-in-law that I'll be joining logistics, he probably wouldn't have married his daughter.
Okay.
So just bring in technology, reduce manual effort, bring in transparency, and give the management an overall perspective of what is going on in terms of their day-to-day.
Okay. And this last 18 months of the pandemic
Mhm.
has affected every business. How has it impacted logistics?
So, sir, logistics has been the backbone on which everything has been running, right? You were getting the groceries or the milk in the house because some guy was transporting it from the source to your house, right? So
Mm,
there was some disturbance in the first 5-10 days after the Janta curfew. People were uncertain what's going to happen. The trucks were stopped in transit, but after a week or so, air cleared and things started moving. People were home. So I would say at least the first couple of months were very jittery for us. Businesses were slowly coming back. It was mostly essential goods which were moving, but there has been a positive impact on our business, which aims to digitize all these activities. So we're seeing a lot more demand now. People are more aware and cognizant about things that yes, we need digitization. There is less workforce. I mean, at a dispatch floor in a factory, there is less workforce right now. Only people who are supposed to be there are there. So the management needs to know what is going on at the floor. So
right.
definitely there has been a huge upsurge in the number of leads we have gotten, the number of implementations we have done post the pandemic. So
Amazing.
yeah, a positive impact. And I believe for any digitization, anybody into digitization business, that has been the case.
Amazing. Amazing. So tell me, has the pandemic changed the supply chain forever?
The supply chain, I mean,
Logistics.
definitely changed the way supply chain has been managed, I would say. So a very simple thing, like when a truck gets loaded, there is someone needs to be there physically to cut the plan, to do all the paperwork, right? And now when the people cannot come to a factory to the dispatch point, these things have been digitized. So I mean that is going to be the new normal, because the cost would come down, the human involvement would come down, the manual activity would come down in a scenario like this. So I mean, that was just one small example. Again, the acceptance of technology and the fact that yes, traditionally run manufacturing companies or even large enterprises now feel that yes, we need a transport management system, because there is pressure on the supply chain. There is obviously the demand is going to come back eventually, and then people now expect better services.
Right.
How an Amazon gives you a superior service, at the same time, if you, let's say, are an iron and steel dealer, you would expect the same from the company you're sourcing from, right? That means the expectations definitely have gone up, and it's safe to say it's going to be the new normal. When it comes
Because when you look at logistics, which is an absolutely inherent part of a supply chain,
right.
I was talking to some supply chain leaders, and I was asking them a question which I'm asking to you also. The Indian consumer, because of the pandemic, has got used to 30 minutes for food and grocery, and 1 day for any other product. So what is the pressure that is putting on logistics now?
Exactly the same way, like you expect a book to be delivered by Amazon in the next day or the same day. Similarly, if you are, let's say, a dealer of FMCG dealer or an iron and steel dealer, you expect. I mean, obviously, you cannot. In the current situation, you cannot make it, or in there is a physical distance, let's say, which has to be covered between Bombay and Guwahati, which you cannot expect to be covered in 1 day. But that visibility is very important. So, getting the goods delivered is one thing, but the information about where the goods are at every stage, that become very, very critical.
Very interesting. And when you talk of again logistics, I'm much older, so when I remember when I was working for ITC and the other companies, one big challenge used to be how the trucks used to move from one part of the country to the other. There would be chungi, there will be the naka, there will be people who get caught, etc., etc. And then came GST 5-6 years ago. What is your view on how GST has changed the life of the logistics business?
So It was needed. It was that kind of a reform was definitely needed more than I mean, one of the repercussions of GST was a year or 6 months later, the e-way bill got introduced. Every state used to have their different tax structure. Probably, I'll use the same example. A truck going from Bombay to Guwahati would be covering about 8 to 10 states, and every state would have their own specific rules with respect to some kind of paperwork which is needed, a different kind of a way bill needed, different kind of I may say gunda tax which was there. So
Sure.
that is completely that those are things of the past now. I mean, there is a simpler mechanism at all the tolls. There is a very simple check through at various state borders. I mean, I believe state borders are also kind of now there'll be a thing of the history now.
Correct.
Due to the pandemic, there might be some restrictions,
Mm.
right? But in terms of checking the paperwork, all you need is one simple e-way bill right now, which needs to get updated on a timely basis if it gets expired or something. Right?
Fascinating.
Those side things are very simpler.
And let's talk about technology. I mean, you were in the US, you came back, and you did talk of digitization.
Right.
What kind of technology is being used, and how is it impacting logistics?
So right now, I would say if we were talking about CRM 15 years back, or we were talking about accounting 20 years back, that is what is happening in the logistics tech space, right? Right. Obviously, there is talk of artificial intelligence, machine learning. There are being drones being used, robots being used to do sorting at sorting facilities. Again, at a very simpler level, now things are getting built. I mean, right now there is an opportunity to become, the SAP of the logistics tech world, because it's a very hot sector. People are across industries are realizing the benefit that yes, we need some visibility around this. There's too many hands being exchanged to just pass on simple information, right? Tracking of trucks remains something. I mean, it sounds so simpler at a macro level, but if you go on that you are tracking a driver, you have to play with you need to keep things simpler and understand the human aspect of it. So I would say from a technology perspective, things are still being built so that the entire spectrum of the entire process from procure to pay is being captured, and different startups are approaching this point of view. We are approaching it, let's say, from a collaboration point of view. We feel that more than 20-25 hands are getting exchanged to just know the whereabouts of the goods. So things, I would say, are being built at various levels, but yes, with more and more data getting captured, things like AI, ML, I mean, there are obviously a lot of startups which are doing it. We are also using it at some level. So those are the things which definitely are going to come in to reality, and they're all already a reality, I would say. So things like freight exchanges been built across India now, so you can get to know what are the freight trends across various routes. So these things are a reality, sir.
So again, I'm talking about 15, 18 years ago when GPS first came in to India.
Right.
Some people I know did try to put GPSs on their trucks, and the truck driver would destroy it because he did not want to be known where he is.
Correct.
Has that changed now?
There is an acceptance with technology now. I mean, there are truck drivers who are well versed, who are using WhatsApp on a day-to-day basis. Like I would tell you, at least 5 years back when I got into this, they would maintain a different SIM card for every state just to avoid the roaming charges, right? So, I mean, those things are again, talk of the past, right, as of today. But there is some acceptance now. They know that, it's important. GPS again is now becoming a thing of the past. Now there are apps which are being used to track them. There is SIM-based tracking which is available. We don't even need a smartphone. We just need to track their SIM, and we would collate data from the nearest cell tower. So some acceptance is there, I would say. It's not a complete smooth land, I would say.
Sure.
I mean, they don't want, especially during the festivities, and India as a country every state has a festival some time of the year. So at time, definitely it's a tough tracking is a tough sell. But yeah, I would say at least if you apply the 80-20 principle, I think 80% we are there, which is, I mean, peaceful.
I agree. And I was reading about another interesting company that was looking at the return rate, etc. And they said that they had mapped out. So if a truck left from Chennai and a truck left from Delhi, then they would meet halfway, exchange cargoes, and the drivers would go back to their respective cities. I don't know if that has worked or not, but is that feasible?
Well, I mean, 15-20 years ago, we were talking about, people were talking whether driver relaying is feasible or not.
Mm.
Companies were doing it to some extent. So,
Mhm.
I mean, I don't know if it is happening as of today in India, but yes, I think globally there are things there are studies which are being done that yes, why can't
Mm.
why can't there be collaboration between different transport? I'll give a very fascinating example. In fact, right now during the pandemic, when the country was facing a lot of oxygen shortage, so
Mm.
let's say there is a oxygen tanker which is going from point A to point B, and then again for refilling it has to come back to point A. So all these oxygen companies decided that hey, let's collaborate, let's leave out the competition. The truck at point B would go out to the nearest oxygen plant. It might be of a competitor also,
Mm.
but now let's address the bigger problem. So
Right.
it can happen during such difficult times. I'm sure people will figure out some way to collaborate and reduce the deadhead, reduce the fuel cost, bring some, good vibes in the environment. So I'm sure
Fantastic.
that's going to happen, right?
So when Varun, you started your company Super Procure,
Hmm.
you were coming into an industry which, as you said, is highly fragmented.
Right.
What were some of your challenges as you built the company?
So I think I remember the first when I spoke to my partner Anup, I told him, and that time we were also involved in the transportation business. Um, I told him, let's just give this a try. If I can get you first 5 customers in 6 months, I think there is a serious market viability for a product like this. So I think how we addressed it was in a very human way. We would go out and talk to people who manage logistics and tell them that hey, every day you're wasting so much of time on a phone or sitting in front of or calling transporters or spending time on WhatsApp. Let's try to bridge this gap. Let's make a very simple tool and wherein you can do out your carry out daily dispatch related activities.
Mhm.
So the first thing we would hear from them was, is it even possible? Can we do this? So, like I'm trying to say that it was such a nascent point in space in that point of time that people were even questioning us whether it can be done or not, or is it possible or not.
Mm.
And one of those 5 customers I remember was L&T, and that's when I told my partner, okay, hey, this is a gold mine I think we've hit. So, I mean, they would spend about 4 or 5 days just to finalize the dispatch plan, and with for the next week. So when our system got in, that time got reduced to 30 minutes,
Mm.
and they could carve out 3 more resources and put them somewhere else, and there was just one person then managing the dispatches. So. Uh, the selling, I mean, the tough part of selling was not the technology, but breaking the human mindset that yes, this is
Systems. Yeah.
possible and things would get transparent. And I mean, in a more traditional setup, we wouldn't even let in because some pockets might get lighter. That was one challenge we had to face.
Okay.
Uh,
Very
then we
interesting.
decided, yes, that's not our customer. Not everybody can
I
even
agree.
get your customer, right?
Absolutely. So now let's move to your other company, where you are the co-founder and CTO of Truck Hall.
Right.
Tell me about this venture.
So, sir, I would say I mean, Truck Hall is kind of like the encompassing entity. Super Procure is one of the brands. So,
Mhm.
Truck Hall, like I said, we started with this brand name Truck Hall in 2015. We played the role of aggregator, we played the role of a transport broker, and we played the role of a full truck transporter as well. So, with the brand Truck Hall, we stopped doing business in 2018, and we completely migrated to our SaaS offering, which is Super Procure. Truck Hall remains the encompassing entity.
I see. Okay. So Varun, I'm now going to move to a few questions for you personally,
Sure, sir.
because a lot of our viewers and listeners like to get to know the guest a little better.
Sure.
So let me start with asking you, what would you say are 3 key milestones or pivot points in your life or your career so far?
I think one of them definitely has to be when I decided to let go my consulting life in New York, and I decided, hey, enough is enough. And I had gotten recently married, and I told my wife, like, look, we got to go back home. I mean, this is not going to work out. And so I guess that was one major pivotal point in my life. And I think another point in time when I look back is when we took all 3 co-founders, me, Anup, and Manisha, and we decided that yes, the transport business, what we are doing under Truck Hall, yes, it is going fine, but it's not. we are not adding I mean, it was a profitable business. We had some really good brands under us who we were giving service to. But what we realized was that we're just going to be one of the other players around there. There is no stickiness. We're not bringing any value add to the industry. So why can't we do something wherein we also assist the entire industry, the entire ecosystem, which has good people, a lot of transport companies, a lot of brokers, a lot of fleet owners out there. What can be done to make their lives better?
Hmm.
I can't tell you how satisfying it feels when we go and used to meet some of our customers in their offices,
Sure.
and we used to see some of the owners of those large companies or middle companies, mid-sized companies. They were hooked onto our platform, and they would see, that what's going on. So I can't think of the third one. Probably
No worries. No worries. So,
I think the day I became a father probably would be a very good milestone.
that's a fantastic milestone. I agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree. So, Varun, and incidentally, Varun is also my son's name. So,
Okay.
so you said that logistics has traditionally been a difficult business to work in.
Right.
What are some of the core values you believe in?
Sir, I think there's no shortcut to success. You have to put in the hours. You have to. No company was built by working from 9 to 6. I mean,
Correct.
it'll sound when you talk. I mean, a lot of people tell me we see you working till late in the night. What's like the work-life balance? And I tell them this: to look, there are days when I really want to slog and I really want to work till late and get the get the items in the to-do list checked. There are days when you want to sit back and just focus, switch off your phone, and so it's kind of extreme for me. But to answer your question, probably there is no. You have to put in the hours. You have to go deep into the problems, and see, technology again has to be very human. It cannot be. So when I'll just tell you an example. When we were building the system, we had to really make it very, very simple. I mean, a transporter who is barely educated, we wanted him to be a key contributor to the platform. And you cannot do that by making things really, really complex. It has to be simple. I mean, no transporter or none of these people were ever trained about WhatsApp, yet they use it. It's part of their daily life. It has to be that simple. Yeah. Right.
My next question to you is, you're very young, but from where you stand today, what does success mean to Varun?
Sir, I'll tell you, I recently got into hiking, and I've been went on a couple. I think to me it's a never-ending journey. You reach a summit, and it's time to scale another one.
Correct.
I think when my father is almost 60 now, and I take a lot of inspiration from him. And we come from a Marwadi family, and to me, he tells me that the day I'm not dead. You think of me, I'll be working. There's no retirement in our blood.
True. Absolutely. I have time for one more question for you, and this is going to be a question on failure. Okay. I've often said that parents in India or Asia don't teach children it's okay to fail. We are always told, class mein first aao, line mein first aage bao, etc., etc. And yet we make mistakes and we fail.
Right.
So my question to you, Varun, is what are some of your learnings from some of your mistakes?
Well, I think it's important to recognize that yes, everybody is human, and there are days when you just you doubt yourself. It's not easy. The important thing is to get up, show up at work. There are days when your team feels the pain. It's important to talk about it. I feel that it's I don't know. I'm not going to put it into words, but it's all. I would say success is just the tip of the iceberg. There's just too much that goes on. It drains you emotionally, physically, and whatnot. But yet, at the end of the day, I remember telling this. Talking about this with my father, that खुशी problems को solve करने से मिलती है. At the end of the day, if you sleep over a problem, and you have to solve it. It might not be the perfect solution, it might be an intermediate solution, but then the satisfaction comes from solving them. And it's in terms of, I think, failures, it's important to, I think family play a very, very big role there. You got to switch off at times. I've started doing this for the past couple of years. Whenever I really, really drained out, I just I just drop an email to my founders that, hey, I've hit a point of saturation, just let me a couple of days. I'm just keeping my phone off, and it's time to think, it's time to retrospect, and then again get back.
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah. Varun, thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure speaking to you. Thank you for sharing the incredible knowledge you have on logistics. I wish you good luck.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.